Hello and welcome to another video. This case we're gonna be taking a look at Sisita, also known as Shizu or as Shizu 2128 Delta. But this case is gonna be the original version, the SR, the Pleiade Sisita, not the tank version. This one right here. And we're gonna do uh, what I always do here, that is basically go around the skills, the accessories, the relics, my recommendations for the awakening levels, the runes, the recommendations on the relic set, the relic enhancements, as well as the sub attributes. And then I'm gonna go to the characters and compositions that I recommend you in case that you want to, level up and max Shizu, or at least, have her at a decent level of power. And as you can see here, my CCT is only level 60. Not a lot, not low. And she has 5 stars out of 6. 6 stars Arc Light, where the Arc Light is only level 30. So it's, as you can see, she's not even close to be one of my main characters, or even my secondary characters. But that's fine, because if someone is, thinking if Shizu is worth leveling up and so, and is, seeing this video for that reason, it might be a new player or a medium level player, which is okay. Usually high level players don't use many SR characters, but there is some SR characters that are good or useful. And I will say Shizu definitely feels a nice role when you try to level her up and use her. So, starting with her, you can see that she has only 16k combat power, has B on HP, which is very mediocre, and 3 Cs, one on physical defense, one on magical defense, and another one on speed, which is basically the worst rating a character can have on the basic attributes. And she has S on attack, the highest rating a character can have in basic attributes, which basically tells us that she is slow, fragile, but hits hard. Basically, we could define Shizu as a glass cannon. Incredibly fragile, any attack from any enemy will probably cause a lot of damage to her, but she can also deal a lot of damage to the enemy. Now, you can see that I have her with 71% crit chance, and it is something that I'm going to explore more in detail when I get to the skills and when I get to the relics. Now, Uh, going to the accessories, we see that at tier level 3, she obtains 10% critical chance, tier 6, she obtains 10% more damage, more attack, and tier 9, she obtains 15% critical damage, which, uh, incline her in the way of being even more of a glass cannon, because all of these are offensive stats, all for the damage. Now, going for the skills, the basic, the normal skill of Shizu is just a single hit that deals from 105% damage, well, attack as damage, all the way to 120% attack as damage. And at the max level, she will obtain, well, from level 4 to the level 5, that is a max level, she will have a 100% chance of gaining 1 stack of reload. That is her passive skill that we're going to talk about right now, the auto reload. From, well, let's take in consideration level 5. At level 5, basically, each stack of the reload, that is basically her passive, will increase her damage by 5%, and she can have, or she can, hold up to 6 stacks at the same time of reload. And she will have 50% fixed, sorry, suddenly I don't know how to talk. She will have 50% fixed chance of gaining 1 stack of reload after an action where an enemy takes damage. And you may think that this only applies when, you have a turn and you directly hit an enemy with either a single target attack or an area of effect skill. And no, I was playing with her and discovered that this also applies for other two instances of damage. One, when the enemies take damage over time, that is basically if the enemy suffers from bleed or shock or burn, when their turn comes in and they, get damaged by that, Shizu has a chance of obtaining one auto reload stack, basically one reload stack. And also with the counters. Let's say that you have Tank Albedo on the same team that Shizu, both have a shield, and the enemy attacks either of them. And then Albedo performs a counter attack on the enemy. After Albedo deals the counter attack and deals damage to the enemy, Shizu has another chance of reloading and having another stack. So if you want to, think of ways to maximize how fast Shizu will have her max stacks, or if you try to give her as much opportunities as possible for her to get the passive stacks, try to combine her with damage over time characters and characters that can perform counterattacks. Now, uh, basically the passive is above for the other two skills, and the more she has, the better, because she can have a max of 6, and at max level she obtains 5% more damage for each stack. That means that she can have up to 30% extra damage. But before we go to the next skill, let's go to the arc light, because it's directly related to the passive skill. The arc light gives her attack and HP in flat amounts, and also more critical damage. And at max stars, that is 6, each stack of reload will grant Cicita 5% crit and 8% critical damage. That means that at max stacks, Shizu will obtain 30% extra crit chance, which is really really good, and she will likely have 48% extra critical damage, which is even better than most ranger characters that may have also increased critical damage on her accessories. So the more stacks you have, the more bonuses she will have. She will have increased critical chance, increased damage, and increased critical damage. Now, her first, let's say, active skill, the demonic shot. She will have a she will attack doing a 2-hit attack or a 2-hit combo, and each damage or each instance of damage will do 60% attack at level 3, and at max level she will do up to 65% attack on each shot, which means that she will do a total of 130% attack. That is really nice. Also, she will gain speed up for 2 rounds after using the skill. That is above, that will increase her speed by 20%, which is really nice because she has C on speed. So even if she is, very, very slow, while she has that buff of the speed up, at least she will be able to keep up with other characters that have B rank on speed. So she might be able to match other B characters. But that, upgrade of having speed up after using the skill for 2 rounds will only activate if your Shizu is 5 stars or more. So early game you don't have that bonus. So your Shizu is gonna remain very very slow. And also, when you use this skill, it's gonna cost reload stacks from your passive, well, from her passive. And each stack will deal 1 extra hit, costing 3 stacks at most. So even if she's with max stacks, if she has 6 at a time and you throw the demonic shot skill, she will take 3 out of her 6 reload stacks, and she will do not a 2-hit attack, but rather a 5-hit attack, which is really nice. And obviously each extra hit that she deals with the reload stack is going to have the same values of attack as each of her initial 2 hits. So you can, in a good scenario where you have at least 3 stacks or more, you will be able to do even more than double the original damage from the skill, which this can become a really really nice single target skill. Now the ultimate, the shooting spree, she launches a 3-hit attack to the primary target, that means the one that you choose, and each hit will deal damage equal to 40% attack, but at max level that is 52% attack for each hit, and it's 3 times. And she will also launch a 3-hit attack on all the other targets on the screen. That means that she is uh, hitting all the enemies at the same time with an RFFX skill, and each hit will deal damage equal to 24% attack that can go up to 30% attack. And because it's a 3-hit attack, if we multiply these two values that I'm marking right here for 3, that means that the main target will be suffering 156% damage. Well, of the value of attack from Shizu on the skill. And all the other enemies that aren't the main target will receive 30% attack as damage. Sorry, 90% attack as damage. Aside of that, if Shizu manages to achieve a critical hit on the enemy, each time she deals critical damage, she will have 30% basic chance to inflict a blitz stack for 2 rounds. That is basically a debuff that deals damage over time, can be stacked up to 10 times, which is quite a lot. Also, there is a 100% fixed chance, that means that doesn't get influenced by effect precision or effect resistance. There's a 100% basic chance to, sorry, fixed chance to inflict a stack of bleed on the primary target after using the skill. That means that you have guaranteed that Shizu is going to inflict at least one stack of bleed on the main target, unless the enemy has debuff immunity or invulnerability. Those are the only exceptions to fixed chance. Not only that, but her ultimate also costs reload stacks. Every 2 stacks will deal 1 extra hit, and because she can have 6 at a time and there's no limit here like on the demonic shot, that means that she can transform her shooting spree from a 3-hit attack all the way to a 6-hit attack, which is really, really nice. And that is for both instances of the ultimate. It's gonna be a 6-hit attack to the main target and a 6-hit attack to all the other targets at the same time. And if your Shizu is 4 stars or more, she's gonna have extra 30% critical chance when she uses the shooting spree. And at 6 stars, the 30% basic chance to inflict bleed on the enemy when she achieves a critical hit is gonna double up and become a 60% basic chance. That honestly is not a lot, but at least is something, it's an extra perk to the ultimate. So what we can see, based on the skills, the arc light, the accessories, and the basic attributes, she is a character that is heavily inclined to have crit, because at max amount of stacks, she will able, and max it, the stars of the arc light as well, she will have to be able to have, just by having her passive at the max amount of stacks when she attacks, she will have naturally 30% critical chance there, plus another 10 from her accessories, that means 40%. And if she throws the ultimate, it's another 30% if she's 4 stars or more. If we add that up, that means that naturally she can get all the way to 70% critical chance if she throws her ultimate when she has max stacks and has her arc light with 6 stars. And for that, I will recommend you to have her as a crit based character, as a crit damage based character. Now, going to the awakening, we can see here that I don't have anything, not a single level of her, nothing. But that's because, of course, it's not my main or anything like that. But what I can recommend you is this path. From the gem that you unlock, the slot that you unlock at level 5 and level 20 of Awakening, this one, the energy gem attack that increases it by a percentage. Because, for example, it's way better to increase 4% damage or 4% attack of a character that already has 4k attack than increasing it by 30, than increasing it by 12, It's way better the one on percentage. Then, if after you put the relics that I'm gonna show you in a bit, that I'm gonna recommend you, if you still don't reach 70% critical chance, you are gonna put on the round gem, the one that is at level 10 and level 25, you're gonna put the critical damage one and the critical chance, sorry, both. You can put both. If you haven't reached 70% crit with the relics and her accessories, you put the Mighty Gem crit, the one that increases the critical chance. But if you already reach 70% critical chance, instead of that, you're gonna be putting the Mighty Gem critical damage. Because with 70% crit, you're guaranteeing that Shizu is gonna throw crits, all the hits gonna be crit on her ultimate. So if you increase the critical damage, you're increasing the performance of her ultimate and all the bonuses that her arc light will give her. Now, for the rare gem, the one that goes in the middle at level 15, I would recommend you to give her this, the 42 gem attack. I know it's a small amount of extra attack, but if you try to give her defense or magical defense or speed, it's not gonna be really noticeable because she has the worst ratings on those relics. So she will have really low, natural basic attributes and 2.50 extra speed or uh, 30 magical defense or 12 magical defense or 12 physical defense is not gonna be something that you're gonna be making good use of. And then on the Awakening level 13, the Gem specialized class, or, or the max gem, the max rank gem you can give her, I would recommend you this, the Power Gem assist rate or assistance rate. At the start, yeah, it's only 1.5% extra assist rate, and considering that Shizu doesn't have any assist rate, 1.5% could be, considered a waste. But if you can manage to give her this gem, this power gem, and upgrade it, for example, let me show you here, at max level, max rarity, it will be 15% assist rate, which is something that you're gonna notice on the fight because from time to time she will pop out and deal extra damage. Even if you don't manage to get the highest quality, to legendary is not that hard to get, and you can get her to 10% assist rate. And it's still a nice amount. Only on epic and inferior, where it's 6% and less, is where it's not really that noticeable. But if you can get even to the 10%, that is really, really nice. Because assist rate will make her act, will make her do extra attacks, and that can also pop her passive the auto reload, so she can stack even faster. Now, to the relic version, the relic section. What I have here is what I will say is the best relic that you could, use on her. But there's also another recommendations that the game gives you. The game recommends you a side of termination, Crimson, that basically will increase her attack by 10 from 10 to 15% depending on the quality of the set, and then will add extra attack to all the targets that you hit initially with your first skill. So if you open with the ultimate, this will be greatly benefited from this set. But honestly, you don't really want to open the fight with Shizu ultimate. And I'm gonna tell you in a little bit more, in a little bit later, the why. What I would recommend you is the termination set, mostly because the termination set also grants you more critical chance from 10 to 15% depending on the quality of your set, and it gives you the special effect that nullifies 30% of the target defense. Considering that she is a damage dealer, she tries to deal as much damage as possible, and she is very fragile. You better go all offensive, you go all out. So you have her deal as much damage as possible. So even if someone kills her after her first or after her second turn, at least still manages to deal high amounts of damage to the enemy. And that can be very useful if you try to uh, turn around a game where you're starting to lose at the very start of the game, something like that. But if you don't like termination set on her, you think it's a waste because you have other characters to give termination sets or whatever, as the alternative, I will say Bermari set. Let me find it. Here. Bermari set also increases your critical chance from 10 to 15%, exactly like termination, but instead of nullifying enemy defense, we'll have 40% chance to reduce skill cooldown by one round after using the skill. This is purely for the utility. In both Bear Mare and Termination, you're gonna try to have the same sub attributes that I'm gonna tell you in a minute or so. But these sets will give you different benefits. If you go for Bear Mare, it's for utility because you want to have these skills as often as you can. And if you go, well, for example, you can try to have demonic shot as much as you can, so she always has the speed boost buff, or she has the area of effect skill that is her ultimate. But if you go for termination, you're trying to maximize her damage, which is basically what I would recommend because, as we saw, she is very bad at everything but dealing damage to the enemy. That is the only thing she is good at, which is kind of lore accurate because she is very squishy and she's kind of like a sniper on what by the lore, aside of being really good at memorizing the traps and the mazes on Nazarick. But that's besides the point. Now, before I go to the rest of my relics, I have to clarify that because she is not any of my main characters, I don't have the best pieces of equipment that I have on her. But I'm gonna give you two examples after I give you the basics of the relics, okay? So if you see here a B or a C, it's because of that on the the ratings. First off, you can see here that I have one B, two A's, and one S. Here, what is useful for a CC10 question is, of course, the S on crit. The more crit she has, the more likely she is to deal critical hits on the enemy. The B on speed, because she is a very slow character, so if you can give her a little bit extra speed, it will be nice. The effect resistance is not really useful on her. That is more useful for tanks and for priest or healers, support characters. And the A in effect precision is decent, but do not try to focus on that because this will only help her ultimate to land the uh, you know the blitz stack, and in the demonic shot it can help to successfully inflict healing reduction to the enemy. That is a debuff that she can obtain when she maxes the skill and when she gets high amount of stars. Now the next part, determination armor. I only have this piece here because it gives A on attack, A on crit. Crit, the more likely she will have to the more likely she will be dealing critical hits on the enemy, she will be putting bleed on them, and she will be dealing extra damage on them because of the critical damage bonuses from her arc light and from her accessories. And the attack, because if for some reason she doesn't crit, she will at least be able to deal high amounts of damage. Now the weapon I have it here because of the same, more speed, more crit. I already said why that is useful. And here because attack, damage boost, and speed. Damage boost to help overall all kinds of damage, so that is really nice. But for example, if I were to max her, if I wanted to max her out, I will give her this exact set right here. You know, uh, Here will be for the double S on critical chance on speed. This piece, the plum plate, will be because of the B on crit, the A on attack, and the S on speed. Determination blunderbuss here will be for the A on critical chance, the A on critical damage, and the S on attack. And determination base will be for the B on attack, the A on damage boost, and the A on speed. That is basically what you will enjoy the most. If I had to tell you what will be, the ideal kind of sub attributes or the relics that you will try to give her, what will be the recommended as your priority number one, even if you're running a Vermare set instead of termination set, will be number one, critical chance. Your priority is critical chance. Try to get her to 60% from the relics, using both the relic set effect and the relic sub attributes as well as the relic enhancements. Try to get her to level to 60% critical chance, because the 10 from her accessories will make it 70, and that 70 will become 100% when she has 6 stacks of reload, because that will add extra 30%, and 70 plus 30 is 100. And then even if she doesn't have any reload stacks for the bleed on her passive and so, even if she doesn't have any stacks, but you have her with 70% total, and you use her ultimate, and she is 4 stars or more, the ultimate will have extra 30% crit. That means that she will have all her hits from the ultimate being critical hits. So you have maximum value out of her ultimate just like that. Now, the other example is right here, this other character that is also running termination set except for the helmet. Here, for example, B on attack, S on critical chance, S on speed is really good for Shizu. A on attack, S on crit, just 1A on effect precision for the bleed, really nice. B on speed, S on damage boost, A on critical chance. Here, for example, B on speed, A on attack, sorry, S on attack and A on critical chance. All of those relics will be fire, will be the best that you could give this other character, Shizu in question. And with that, I assure you, you will, alongside the enhancements, you will, you will guarantee the 100% crit because just look at this. The character that has the relic set that I'm showing you as an example has 91.7% crit, almost 100. And this character doesn't gain extra crit with the ultimate like Shizu does. So just imagine that. Like with the very, average set that I show you that Shizu has, she already has 71% crit. So with that, she already gets to the goal of critical uh, chance. So after prioritizing getting critical chance on her on the sub attributes of her relics, what will be number two? Number two will be attack. Attack because in case you cannot guarantee crits, in case you didn't got lucky with the ratings on the relics, if she doesn't crit, at least she's gonna hit hard because she will have S on attack. Your third priority, your third place will be critical damage because if she crits, she's gonna hit even harder than usual. And the number four will be speed. So you will have critical chance, attack, critical damage, and speed. Then if you can spare one or two extra, sub attributes to have there, a little bit of health or effect precision. Health so she doesn't get killed by an area of effect skill that a random boss or a random enemy throw, and effect precision so when she crits, she successfully inflicts bleed on the enemies. Now, the relic enhancements. I'm gonna use this character as well as an example for the relic enhancements because the number one priority on the relic enhancements will be punch for punch. Punch for punch from level 1 to level 5 is only gonna upgrade your critical chance, but from level 6 to level 10, aside of giving you extra critical chance, is also boosting your damage boost, which is really nice because the damage boost will increase even your critical damage at the end of the day. So if you can get it to level 6 and combine that with the relics to, guarantee the 70% crit, will be fire, will be the best. Then your second, priority, or what it should be your second priority to get on the relic enhancements, is unstoppable. From level 1 to level 5 only increases your critical damage, which, yeah, it's not a lot of an increase as you can see here, but from level 6 to level 10, aside of increasing your critical damage in nice amounts, is also giving you 6% assist rate, and at max level is also giving you 15% assist rate. So if you could get at least the 10% from the awakening levels of assist rate, and then this, you have a character with a minimum of 25. Or if you max the relic, the gem, and then the gem on the awakening levels, and then this relic enhancement, you will have 35% assist rate on your Shizu. So she will have 35% of dealing extra chance of dealing extra damage, and that will give her another chance that will allow her to get one reload stack, which means 8% more critical damage, 5% more critical chance, and 5% more damage in total. So all of these, the punch for punch, the unstoppable, all of those play into her passive, into her arc light, and into her ultimate skill. Now, if you also want to, let me move it to show you the next one. If you also want to upgrade her ultimate as much as possible, put this one hit kill. Level 1 increases area of effect skill damage by 5%. Tank, with the levels up to level 5 can increase 10%, 16%, 23%, or 30%. This will only increase her ultimate damage because the basic attack and the demonic shot, the first skill of her, both are single target skills. So this enhancement right here doesn't benefit the other skills, but because the shooting spree, the ultimate, deals area of effect damage, the one hit kill will boost her total damage there. So if you want, maximum value out of her ultimate, max her crit, her critical damage, and then give her this relic enhancement right here. If after those three, punch for punch, unstoppable, and one hit kill, you still have here space for more enhancements to give. Try to give blade draw. Let me see if I can see it here. Here, try to give her blade draw because it's going to increase the attack on flat amounts, and from level 6 to level 10 is also going to increase the attack on both flat amounts and percentage. So that will be like your four main enhancements for the relics: punch for punch, unstoppable, one shot kill, or sorry, one hit kill, not one shot. One shot is what you try to do with that. So it will be punch for punch, unstoppable, one hit kill, and blade draw. If you still have either more space to give more enhancements to her, or if you get lucky, try to give her endless cycle so she has a little bit more of HP and she doesn't get destroyed or killed that easily by the enemies. Now, coming back here, as an extra, if you do not like the termination variant or the Vermare, and you still want, another relic set that might be useful on her, I would recommend this sunset set. This one right here increases the attack and makes her deal 7.5% more damage for every 20% health that the enemy is missing. I will say this plays naturally into the character because she has low speed. That means that in most of your compositions, she's gonna be playing last turn or almost the last turn, the one before the last. And what will happen is that if, for example, if you have two damage dealers on your team, let's say you have one mage, you have Shizu as the ranger, you have one tank, and then one healer to have a balanced team, you more likely will have your mage be the first or the second turn to play. Your tank will be also between the first or the second to play, so you will have your defenses in place. Your mage will be dealing area of effect damage, or more likely will be doing that, will damage the enemies, and the third place will come in for either your healer or Shizu, and by the time she plays, the enemies will already be missing health. And if you have a really nice first damage dealer, they maybe will be missing their first 20% health of their maximum amount, and that will give her an increased 7.5% extra damage. And that will be, pure damage, not critical chance or anything like that. So, if you want to run for pure attack, pure damage, not playing with critical chances, Sunset will be a best option. But if you want to play with critical hits based on the skills and what I told you, go for either Vermare or Termination. I will personally recommend Termination because she doesn't need that much the demonic shot, so Vermare will not help that much. And Termination, is 30% enemy defense that gets nullified when she attacks, which is, I will say, very, very good, very powerful indeed. Now, the characters or themes and compositions that can be played with or around her. First off, it can be a player's team. That means that the players that you have seen, well, the players that you have on screen can be played with Shizu on different teams. Like, for example, a very simple one could be Yuri, the SR version, as your tank, alongside Lupus Regina as your healer, then Solution as your assassin and kind of support character because can make assist, and Cicita as your finisher. So Yuri basically defends and stuns, Lupus Regina heals and purifies, Solution will silence an annoying enemy from using one ultimate, and will provide additional support with extra damage, and Shizu will have chances of reloading all the turns of the other players. So when her come was where her come sorry. So when her turn comes in, she will be able to throw the ultimate with 3, 4, 5, or even 6 stacks of reload to maximize her damage. Also, when Yuri attacks, she has a chance with the passive skill to make one of the Pleiades members with the highest attack launching an assist that will have extra damage based on Yuri defense. So if, for example, you manage to make Shizu your character with the highest attack, like for example here between Shizu and Solution, my Shizu has the highest attack. That means that she is gonna be making an assist if you invite her instead of Solution. So Shizu will have a chance to deal more damage that can also do critical hits and reload her weapon. But if you don't like, for example, Solution, or if you don't like Lupo Regina on your team, you could exchange them for Narveral or for Nave version, because she is also a crit based character with her arc light and her passive, and she can throw her skills twice if the enemies have low health to try to, kill them. So she might be able to be your executioner, and Shizu, instead of being your finisher, will become your support damage dealer. She will deal damage to weaker the to weak the enemy, to weaken the enemies, leave them with low HP, so when Navectron comes in, she will execute them. So your Shizu will not be your main damage dealer in that case, but still one of your core players in the damage department. Also, that can be combined with literally any version of the players. You could add SSR Yuri, you could add their, for example, SSR solution. Both versions of Entoma, the SR and the SSR version, this one right here, can also be put combined with Shizu, the other version, the tank version, or with the limited Nave. All of those versions can be triggered to deal assist attacks with Yuri's passive. So you can make any kind of combination using, of course, Shizu, because she's the start of this video, then Yuri is your tank and your SR characters, and you can combine any other two SSR, the high quality characters from the Pleiades. And you have a full Pleiades team for different qualities. You will have both rarities, SR and SSR. If you don't like that, you can go for a full critical damage team. Full damage will have something like shock aura that is based on crit. It could have Momon if you base him on crit. It could have big team. It could have the Halloween Momon. It can have Nigredo because she can also perform very well with crit. Can also have this version of Entoma that is a directly crit-based character. It can also be combined with Maid Albedo because she has a lot of crit and she boosts indirectly another characters that deal crit. If you have this Nave with crit, you can also use her, or for example Seshi, also another crit-based character. You can combine any of those crit-based characters with this Hamuske, because not only is a tank that will provide defense for your team and so, but will also decrease the enemy defense, so your Shizu and your other characters will deal extra damage or more damage in an easier way. And not also that, but this version of Hamuski adds extra damage to all of her allies' attacks based directly on her defense. So just by existing on the team, she will be already increasing Shizu damage, and by that, Shizu performance. Not only that, if you don't like, the crit-based team, you could try to go for a team that directly empowers Shizu to the maximum capabilities, that increases her attack to the maximum. That will have characters like Big Team, for example, because his passive gives extra attack to all of his allies based on his missing HP and based on his attack. And if he dies, the bonuses double up. He will increase Shizu attack just by existing as well. Then Hamuski will be your tank to do exactly the same. You will put Pandora's Actor to give her multiple buffs. Like, can give any of these buffs right here. Any of these ones. Can go from a simple attack or defense boost all the way to a high tier speed up or a high tier attack boost or invincibility or lifesteal or crit boost or critical damage boost, for example, which are all of those bonuses that she needs, or well, she will enjoy, she will make good use of them. But if you don't like the idea, or if you just try to look for different teams that aren't the obvious, a critical damage team or a playlist team, you can go for stalling or control teams. That means teams that usually stun the enemies or keep them in place, so your Shizu will have more than enough turns to attack the enemies whenever she wants without the enemies retaliating against her, possibly killing her or healing all the damage that she does. That usually is a team that will have like two tanks, one healer, and then one damage dealer. If you want to play like super safe, that will be. In this case, your damage dealer will be Shizu, and your tanks will be any tank that basically can do any form of control on the enemies. That could be by stunning the enemies, like for example using Yuri ultimate. That can be by blocking all incoming damage, like for example using the ultimate of the platinum armor, that is basically the world isolating barrier from the PDL, the platinum dragon's lord armor. That can also be from basically taunting the enemy, so they focus the tank instead of anyone else, like with Shazuryu. Or you can freeze the enemy so they don't play, like what Saryusu does, freezes the enemies. Or forcing the enemies to focus someone that is in Shizu, like what the Dead Knight can do with shield wall states. And also, you can basically silence the enemies, something that Pestonia passive can do, or something that uh, Nigredo ultimate does, silences the enemies. Your healer will be, for example, Pandora to buff Shizu and give her bonuses. Or if you want to go even safer, you can go for Universal Albedo. She heals, she offers shields, she steals buffs from the enemies, she gives invincibility, she gives invulnerability, she gives indomitable buff, so if someone receives fatal damage, they survive with one hit. She also gives a turn meter boost, so one character plays before original turn, plays before the enemy expected it. Or put tank albedo there, she offers shields, she can taunt the enemy. All of those things will control the enemies, so either when the enemies have a turn they will have to focus the tank, or they don't get to even attack because they will be stunned, so when their turn comes in they do nothing, and they will have to wait another entire round to be able to play. And if you had multiple characters that can stun, you can stun them multiple times. Like if you have big team, you can stun them again with his ultimate. So they do not get to play, they do not get to shield, to heal, or do damage. And your Shizu could slowly be hitting everyone, weaken everyone, so you can finish them off with, for example, Ain's Fallen Down ultimate, or with Shizu ultimate itself. But if you are, for example, as my last team, if you are low level or medium level and you cannot afford, these SSR characters because ones are limited, like Albedo, these two versions. Others are very hard to get, like the tank version, or you don't want the character, like if, for example, Nigredo, you don't want her, even when she will be good for the silence and so, you can go for a very cheap team that is made of full SR characters. That team will entail this Entoma, the SR version, that will have also the Death Knight as your main tank, and you will have a variant between either Yuri or the Vampire Bride. If you have, for example, the Bride, it will be because of her arc light and her passive skill. Sorry, it's her captain skill. Her arc light deals this effect, makes this effect. When the vampire right is alive and in the battlefield, every time bleed damage is dealt, it's gonna restore health equal to a certain amount of the damage that bleed did to all allies. The amount depends on the start of the arc light. So at max stars is gonna be 12%, at 1 star is just 6%. It could potentially allow you to play without any healer. Not on all the cases, but it can potentially allow you that. And then the captain skill basically increases the bleed damage by 20%. That is very nice because in this case, the vampire right puts bleed. Shizu can put bleed with the ultimate. The, the Death Knight puts bleed when the enemies attack him when his ultimate is active. So if he activates his Blood Fury and the enemies attack him, he's going to inflict bleed on the enemies that attacked him. And then Entoma also deals bleed damage, and she inflicts bleed. If you use her ultimate to give her more spells, more talismans, and give her another extra action, and then you throw her first skill, she will throw like 7 hits. It will be a multi-hit attack, and each time she attacks, up to 6, sorry, she will do a 6-hit attack, just like she's ultimate. She will have a chance of putting bleed on every single of their hits, so she will have 6 chances of putting bleed. In a good case, she will be putting 6 bleed stacks on that. And if you have a desolation set on her, on the relics, she will also have another chance of putting either burn, shock, or more bleed stacks. So she can basically get one single enemy to max stacks of bleed very, very quickly. And she will be your mage. So if you need area of effect, Entoma can help you there. If you need to focus one single enemy and put as much bleed as you can there, then Entoma can have the spotlight and help you there with her ultimate and her first skill. And if she has the arc light, she will also gain attack boost, and her next skill after the ultimate will deal extra damage. So she will heal. Sorry, will she will hit incredibly hard, no matter if she's hitting a single target with the first skill or if she's hitting multiple targets with the area of effect skill from the Thunderbird skill. You will have a multi-purposes mage there. Your Death Knight will be the tag that will give damage absorption to your team and will focus, well, will force the enemy to focus on him and attack him because of his shield wall stacks. Then the Vampire Bride is gonna offer your team some healing, extra bleed stacks, and she's gonna increase the bleed damage. And she can also offer healing with her ultimate to the ally with the lowest health, so she can give you extra heal there. Other option is that if you don't like the Vampire Bride, you don't want to run an early game bleed team, you can put Yuri instead of the Vampire Bride, so you have 2 damage dealers and 2 tanks. Or if you want to go one single tank, you change the Death Knight for Yuri, depending on the tank of your preference. Both work very well. And I said this was the last team, but I just remembered other one. Because Shizu is a Blitz team member, that means that she can be combined with literally any Blitz team member. That includes characters like this, like Edstrom. That includes other Blitz team members, characters like, aside of the Vampire Right, the Dead Knight, SR Entoma. That also includes Jaldabaoth, the SSR Entoma, the Limited Lupurgina, and the Warrior Cocytus. This one. I know not everyone might have Lupurgina and Jaldabaoth, or even the other Entoma version, but if you have them, that will be really nice, because Jaldabaoth is a really good tank that focuses on putting as many blitz stacks as quickly as possible in as much targets as possible, while SSR Entoma focuses on dealing high amounts of damage and putting Swarm on the enemy, a debuff that makes bleed undispellable, so the enemies cannot purify bleed. And then Lupus Regina will focus the bleed damage, because her Arclight makes bleed damage nullify part of the target defense. Not only that, but her passive allows her to deal extra damage to enemies that have bleed or are inflicted with bleed, She also increases the max cap of bleed on the enemies. She can make bleed transfer from one enemy to another if the original enemy with bleed died. And her ultimate can trigger bleed. She can put extra bleed and deal more damage, and put a special debuff that will make Lupu Regina counter and heal from the same enemy. So you can mix and match all of these bleed team members with Shizu. And Kokyuto's the warrior version, this one, is really nice. His captain skill allows you to have more chances of inflicting bleed on the enemy, of putting the debuff on them. The basic attack puts effect resistance down on the enemy, so it's easier for you to put bleed on them. He deals extra damage to enemies with bleed. He can also, when he starts the match, as soon as the match starts, already inflicts bleed on the enemies, and his ultimate not only deals area of effect damage that also triggers bleed before its original turn, but also puts the Grievous Wound and High Tier Grievous Wound debuff on them. That is a debuff that increases bleed damage by 30%, the damage taken by bleed. And if the enemy's got the High Tier Grievous Wound, it's gonna reduce the healing received by 50%. So you have 20% possible increased bleed damage from the Vampire Rite Captain skill, plus extra 30% damage of bleed with high tier Grievous Wound or Grievous Wound from Kokyuto's ultimate. Then, with Lupo Regina, you will have bleed nullifying part of the enemy defense, in this case 36%, while she herself will be dealing from 9 to 12% extra damage to enemies inflicted with bleed, while at the same time, Cocytus will be able to deal extra damage to enemies inflicted with bleed and grievous wound. So you're focusing on a bleed team that will have multiple bonuses at the same time. And all of that because Shizu can also put bleed. So you can combine any bleed team member with SR Yuri, SR Sisita, and any other player that you want. You can also add in there, the supports that I told you that increase the damage of Shizu if you want to maximize her damage. And yeah, that will be all. Of course, Shizu will not perform equally as well as Warrior Kokyutos or Limited Lupo Regina will do, because Shizu is an SR character, while Kokyutos and Lupo Regina are SSR characters, which is an entirely different, rarity that also gives them more stats and slightly better skills, but she will be able to, perform decent at the very least. And for example, if you say, oh, well, I don't have Yaldabaoth, I don't have Entom, I don't have Lupurogina or anything like that, you will likely or more likely have Warrior Coquetos. Not only because he's, a core member of the Bleed team, but also because either on the 1,000 free summons that new players got, you more likely got him there, even if he is just 3 stars, you probably got him, or in the 10 summon that you could reroll up to 30 times. Yeah, you could reroll up to 30 times to get, your ideal uh, 10 initial summons. You could also have the chance to get him there. Unless you choose Mare and Aura instead of Kokyotos, which only insane people do. But you have multiple chances of getting Kokyotos when you are a new player. My voice changed. I don't know why my voice changed right there, but anyway, you more likely have him. So an early team for Bleed with Shizu will have this Warrior Kokyutos, Shizu, the Vampire Rite, and SR Entoma. It will be a very offensive team, full damage, no tank, no healer. But if at any point you need a tank or a healer that does bleed damage or inflicts bleed or has any synergy with the bleed that you're gonna be dealing there, it's gonna be either Yaldabaoth or the Death Knight, or you put a healer instead. So you have choices. You have basically the Pleiades team to play with Shizu. You have a bleed team, early game cheap early Blitz team to make with the SR characters. You also have the fancy, let's say, SSR team with Blitz members like Yaldabaoth and Leporogin and so. But you also have other chances. You have other teams to vary it. You have, some variety or some different options. You have the critical damage team. You have the support team, let's say, that maximizes on increasing Shizu damage, like Big Team, Pandora's Actor, and so. The Hamuske robot and all of those characters. But you also have the stalling team or the control team, where you constantly stun, silence, freeze, or taunt the enemy so they don't get to play, and Shizu can slowly stack her passive to the maximum and deal, maximum damage with her ultimate, having maximum value out of her skills and killing the enemy slowly but surely. And that will be all for now. I know I made many mistakes this time. I stuttered a lot. I mispronunciated some things and so. And it's because I tried to record this guide and the app that I used to record suddenly crashed, and I lost like an entire hour of me rambling about the character. So yeah, I'm I'm a bit annoyed for that, and that's why I'm not concentrated and I'm committing many mistakes. But anyway, right after this video, I should be updating the next one. That is the second part where I'm going to the arena mode and fight different teams with the compositions that I told you. It could be one part, it could be two parts, depending on how many fights I do with her and all of that. And any acceleration that I may have to do in the future about her teams, I'm gonna do it in the next video. So I'm gonna update this, and some hours later, the next part, okay? So yeah, with that already said, thanks for watching this, hearing my awful voice, and until the next time. For now, I do not know what is gonna be my next guide, but if someone has any preference, any recommendation, or whatever, you can leave it on the comments, and I probably gonna do it about that because I'm bored. And if no one comments and no one sees this like usual, I'm gonna do it on whatever I choose. Probably another Pleiade or another character from similar synergy to Shizu. So yeah, that will be all, and until next time.